Well, what's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow, today we are here going to talk about Survivor Season 33, Millennials versus Gen X, Episode 6. And what do you do? Figtails has been broken up. So my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa, and I just realized when I was titling this episode, I said it was episode 5. Go me,
Yeah.
I gotta count.
Woo, yeah, I was like, I had to think about it there because I thought it was 6, but when I was making like the cover picture for this podcast, I said just Figtails and not the actual episode number. So I had to think about it there for a second.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this was episode 6?
Yes,
Man,
episode 6.
time's flying. Survivor's going fast.
Yeah, it's super crazy. So at the beginning of this episode, we see that Gen X voted out one of the Gen Xers in CC when they had the majority on this tribe, and this Orange tribe was the only tribe that had Gen X majority on it. All the other ones did not. So it's really interesting, and I really feel like them voting out CC is a new light for Zeke and Michelle. They dodged that bullet, and I feel like now they will be able to make it to like the tribe swap or merge or whatever is coming up next.
I feel like that vote kind of indicates that there are people willing to move beyond just Gen X versus Millennials thinking. And I think that the Orange Tribe is like a great example of that because they obviously voted off a Gen Xer when Gen X was in the majority. But then later in the episode, after they talk with Figgy, Zeke and Michelle are both also kind of ready to jump ship and flop to Gen X if they need to. So I think that it's becoming a lot less a game about your age, like your strategy and who you're with and stuff. So I think that that's going to be interesting as more stuff develops.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good sign because seasons are always more boring if like one tribe just pagongs the other tribe, or if people are very like steadfast in the original tribes that they were put into by production. I feel like this season, because they aren't going to be strictly Gen X or strictly millennials, like you need a mixture of Gen X and millennial in order to win the game. You can't just be like so one-sided, I feel like. And I feel like this CC move was smart because CC was the weakest, or she or David could be the weakest player on this tribe physically, but CC doesn't have as many connections as David does. Like David is with Ken and Jessica, and he definitely has his fingers in a lot of different pockets, so that could help other people in the game also. But then it is a bad move technically because you have all of these smart people still left in the game. Zeke is very smart, Michelle is very smart, David is very smart, but I really like these three, so I was happy with the outcome.
So I have a question about your use of metaphors. I thought it was you have your fingers in a lot of pies.
I have no idea.
I think it's you have your fingers in a lot of pies. And I have to admit, I didn't really hear anything you were saying other than that because I was obsessed with that metaphor thing.
Oh shoot, I didn't know. I don't know. But I don't know. I think with this tribe it has some interesting dynamics like Michaela alluded to at the end of the immunity challenge, because it is a 2-2 split, so someone will have to jump to make it 3-1, or you could idle or draw rocks, but I really don't see that happening. But I think that's really interesting. So if there isn't a tribe flip next week, or tribe merge into 2 instead of 3, then that should be interesting.
Yeah. So, shoot, I forget which color tribe they are. Jay and Will, what color tribe are they?
Green.
Yeah. So the green tribe is the only tribe that hadn't had an idol before, since it was the tribe that was like created in the 3. So Jay was out walking, and he was with Will, and they spotted a weird looking log on the ground with a green symbol, and I think one of them asks, "Isn't that this tribe's symbol?" And the other one goes, "Yeah." And then Jay's log and finds inside
the hidden immunity idol. Which
as he should be. And Will's really hyped because Will's with him. And they're all really hyped because idols are very good.
No, yeah, if
Look at me
Will
in my in-depth analysis.
if Will was not with Jay during this sequence, I feel like Will would not have gotten any screen time this episode. As seen with his past edits, he has not been getting a lot of screen time. I really feel like this whole idol sequence that we've seen, we get to know a lot more about Jay. And I was like, oh, heck yes. Like, Jay, we get to hear his, like, sort of family backstory. He wants to play the game to buy his mom a house and, you know, repay his mom and his sisters for, like, everything that they've been doing and stuff like that, which I was like, this is really sweet. That's very nice. And I don't know, Jay seems like he talks a lot about millennial stereotypes, which is very interesting because before the season, everyone was like, Taylor, he would be the one that is like the epitome of millennials. And I feel like Jay is really good because he does say like, oh, millennials are supposedly supposed to do this, but I want to do this, and you know, this has some Gen X vibes. And I really feel like we learned a lot about Jay. We see he's crying, and then which was super, super cute when he finds the idol, he's like, oh, I can hear like the Survivor song in the background, and then the Survivor song starts playing. And then last episode we saw during the tribe swap, he's singing that song too, and I was like, you know, he's getting like a cool, interesting edit right now. I feel like he definitely does have the potential to win the season.
I feel like his husband to appeal to the Gen Xers a lot more. Like if you were to go to the final tribal council, that is the sort of thing where like people would be looking for something beyond just like selfish purposes, just because a lot of times when people win $1 million, you do expect them to spend it on themselves. But like obviously if you're convincing a jury of people, you want to say that you're going to have a good use for that money beyond just like, oh, I'm going to buy myself a yacht or whatever that is. So I think that he has the familiarity with the millennials, like as in he has talked to them before and stuff, but he also has the appeal to the Gen Xers because he has that story that's more of a Gen X type story, as you said.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, I don't really look into Edgic that much, but I feel like Jay is like getting a very good screen time appearance. Like Will, definitely not. We don't see him. We don't like, he doesn't get any confessionals. We don't know what he's thinking on the island. He's just like there. But Jay, he seems like he narrates a lot of things, sort of like Ken and David also narrate a lot in their confessionals, which really builds that whole kind of story arc, which I think is very interesting. And Jay seems like a very likable guy.
Yeah, but so Jay and Will's moment of triumph does not last for long, because what happens when you find an idol is to have someone else walk in on your idol finding, and what happens?
Woot woot. Then.
So the look on Michaela's face when she saw this was like, I live for her facial expressions, just because like her face is one of those faces that just conveys so much emotion. And then like her reaction to the idol was just perfect, because she made it clear that she had seen them and that she had seen the idol, but she also made it clear that she wasn't going to like spill the beans on that idol. Advantageous for her to do so, but like it wasn't like she was going to go back to camp and start hollering about the idol, which I think is the perfect thing that you need to do, because like people get more cautious with idols if they know that another party has seen it, but they're also like not going to be liking Michaela very much if they were to like spill on them.
No, yeah, exactly. And Jay even tells Will, like, yo, dude, keep lookout. So just another thing Will isn't that good at. He can't keep lookout. Michaela walks in on them. And like you were saying, I think it's good for Michaela. She knows that she has this information. She says Jay, you know, he's one of my allies at this point, but she does not think Jay would play the idol for her, like on her to save her. So that's something she's keeping in the back of her mind. And I think Michaela would 100% rat out Jay's idol to like other tribe members if she thinks this would benefit her own game. I think she is going to use this information to her advantage, and we might see it play out in the future, I feel like, because I don't know, like, she's a smart girl. I think she would rat out the idol and tell, like, different people if she's going to split and work with other people that he has an idol if it benefits her game in the long run.
Part of the thing about having 3 small tribes is that it's really hard to do a vote split. Like, if Michaela were to split the vote between Jay and Will, it would be a 2-2-2 tie, and then one person would idol out of that tie, presumably. So then it would be a 2-2 tie at the end, and it's like, no one wants to split the votes to end up at a tie. Like, you want to split it so whoever gets the split votes will still end up going home, because splitting votes for a tie is just not a good thing. So I think that if she were to have, like, rat Jay out and try to flush out the idol, she'd have to wait until after they merged back into 2 tribes or 1 tribe.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's not playing out right now, but I think we'll see it in the future probably. And I don't know, I thought it was interesting that now Hannah is the only one on the Millennials part of this green tribe that does not know that Jay has the idol, because Will knows, Jay obviously knows, Michaela knows. Hannah's the only one, and I think she will not be working with them once merge time comes.
Yeah, and I feel like Hannah just feels kind of left out of the whole Millennials thing, just because she wasn't a part of the Pretty People's thing, and she also, like, isn't really a part of the threesome on this tribe. So I feel like of all the Millennials to swap to Gen X, Hannah's definitely likely, and then obviously I think he would consider swapping to Gen X, and then Adam also
About in the
this episode. So
yeah, I think that's something we can definitely talk about in, like, the next time section, because I also did some maths this time to figure out, like, if a merge came or something like that, who would be most likely inclined to work with who, and I thought that was really interesting. So we see at the reward challenge, the tribes walk in, and then we see the reactions to the orange tribe where Cece gets voted out. And, you know, like we were saying a lot last time, we thought that most people would probably think Michelle would be the first one to go because she's a female and she's in the minority on that tribe with those Gen Xers. And so we see Brett saying, wow, and then we see Figgy. Figgy says, you know, I love Michelle, ... I love Zeke too, but I love Michelle and we are really, really close. And I was like, LOL, that's not good. Because
I would
now
love to play poker with Michelle, because I feel like you can make or not Michelle, with Figgy, because I feel like you can make a killing off of her. Like, she has no concept of a poker face. Like, as soon as that tribe came in, she was like smiling and clapping and stuff, and it's like, friends.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, now everyone else knows that you're in a really, really close relationship and you have a tight alliance with Michelle and probably some other people on the Millennials tribe. And this just lets other people know that Zeke is on the outs, which could help Zeke, because now Zeke can play up the whole idea, like, you know, guys, I'm really, truly on the outside of the Millennial tribe. I'm not lying. Like, you can use me as a vote. I'm going to be loyal because I have no allegiance to the Millennial tribe. As you see with Figgy, she totally disregarded me at the reward challenge. And so I think that works well in Zeke's favor. It might not work well in Michelle's favor, but Michelle's answer to Jeff Probst's question here, she's like, the truth works well in this game. And I thought that was a freaking spot-on answer for Michelle, because I think it plays up the whole missionary kind of, you know, I'm a very religious girl, I'm very truthful and trustworthy, you know, talk to me because, you know, I won't spill your secrets. And I think that's very good for Michelle. And I don't know, it benefits Michelle that Figgy was the one to go, because now I feel like people think Michelle is weaker than Figgy. So since Figgy's gone, Michelle lost her, like, #1 BFF out there, and there's no point in voting Michelle off when the merge comes, because she's not like the strong male for immunity challenges or stuff like that. And it works well for Michelle because now she doesn't have to worry about Figgy's comments. And the episode was titled "The Truth Works Well," so that could be some foreshadowing.
I think it's kind of interesting because It's one of those things where Survivor is so often treated as like, oh, it's a game of deception and strategy and stuff. But like when you think about it, the truth, but then with parts of the truth omitted, is actually the easiest thing to tell in this game, because it's like any lie where you fabricate something, it becomes more difficult because you have to like keep track of what you're saying, and it's like, I'm pretty sure someone once said like the hardest thing in the world to be is a good liar, just because you have to remember all the different lies that you made, and you have to like keep them straight and make sure that your information doesn't conflict and stuff. And it's like the truth is so much easier, and it might end up like biting you in the ass, but it also to the final tribal council and you've been telling the truth the whole time, it becomes a lot harder to like, and just because we have seen a lot of like famous manipulators who have gone to final tribal council but have not come home with $1 million because people view them as like a bad choice to give the million to.
Yeah, I really think that kind of strategy works well, because when you're out there, food deprived, sleep deprived, everything deprived, having to keep all of your lies straight is probably really difficult. So you might slip up or something like that. And even like when we were talking with Adam Klein, he was saying, because he went to Stanford, I was like, would you lie about that? Because if you go to such a good school, people might think like, oh, because you went to such a school, you're probably really smart and you'll probably be good at the game. But he was like, he didn't lie about that on the island, because there's just so many like other things that you could get caught lying for. You don't want to get caught lying about something like so minuscule, I guess. So I don't know. I think that's the way to go.
If you lie about the most basic thing, people are going to be like, well, what can I trust then?
Exactly. So I think Michelle, since last episode, Michelle seemed like she would have been voted out, but I think she got over like the hard bump of the season for her, and I think she's going to make the merge and make it far, because nobody will really think she's a threat.
Yeah, I think she'll be able to slide by pretty well. Like, it might be difficult for her, like her name might come up a lot as like a possible vote out, but I don't think she'll ever actually be voted out.
Yeah, exactly. And she also has a lot of fingers in pies too. Was that the right wording?
Fingers and pies. Anyway, so they have the reward challenge, and personally, I'm a big fan of reward challenges done with blindfolds on, just because like the amount of like stuff that happens is so funny. Just because, how many times do you get to see a grown man like run into a pole just because he can't hear like the person who's controlling him?
Oh my God, Alyssa, we're total opposites on this, because I literally wrote in my notes, I don't like these kinds of blindfold challenges because like they're low-key scary and people get unnecessarily hurt in these challenges. So we are definitely opposite on this kind of challenge.
I just think it's very good, like slapstick physical humor, and I think that Survivor is too often like too serious of a game, and it's like sometimes you need stupid, humorous challenges. Like, I like this one better than the big blocks challenge that they did, though. I think it was like 2 seasons ago, just because that definitely had a lot more potential for injury, whereas like most of this stuff happen would be like you get rope burn or you drop a puzzle on yourself or something.
Yeah, I feel like producers definitely with these kind of blindfold challenges have made them safer and like less risk for people getting hurt, because we've seen in past seasons, you drop that stuff on your head, like blindfolded, you walk and trip and stuff like that is dangerous. And so I don't know, with this kind of challenge with the collar, it seems like I personally feel like male callers would be better than female ones, because when the female voice, when you're trying to shout, and even you heard it with Michelle a lot, I feel like her voice got so high pitched and like scratchy, it was really hard to understand her.
Higher pitch sounds travel better than lower pitch sounds. Let me Google that, because I'm pretty sure that's a thing.
Yeah, and I think this reward challenge was interesting because it was like a double-edged sword, or like a two-end kind of stick. I don't really know, but you need a good caller, someone who's loud and is able to like direct everyone. But then you also need someone who can do puzzles. So I think Michelle up there, Jay up there was very good because they both can direct and they're very smart and they can both do puzzles. Like Figgy up there, yes, she says she's very good at puzzles and she can direct, but her puzzle part just fell through.
Well, I Googled it, and someone asked which is easier to hear, a low-pitched sound or a high-pitched sound, and the answer was middle-range frequencies are easier to hear. So,
well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like girl voice when you're like shouting that loud to get that far away to give directions of like blindfolded too. It's like really hard to hear and without water.
I feel like part of that is like not knowing how to project correctly, just because screaming and projecting are two totally different things, and it's like if you're projecting, it should be easy for people to hear you, and it won't be as much strain on your voice as screaming. But I digress.
Yeah, and I feel like you could use Jeff's words maybe to help you out some, but I feel like a lot of people would probably tune Jeff out in challenges. But Jeff does say like, oh, Sunday has the puzzle pieces, Sunday's walking back. Then you could say like, oh yeah, I'm Sunday, I'm going on the right track right now.
I really hope that sort of thing, like exactly that, crosses people's minds. Oh yeah, I'm Sunday.
Yeah, I feel like people probably don't listen to Jeff. I would tune him out.
I mean, I think it's easier to tune him out just because it can be stressful to know how well your competitors are doing. Like, if I was David, I would, like, turn Jeff's voice off just because all Jeff ever does is insult him. So, yeah, I feel like the helpfulness is outweighed by, like, the stress of what you might be doing.
And David was another hot mess in this challenge, the reward challenge, but I think he redeemed himself a little bit in the immunity challenge. He was less of a hot mess. And Alyssa, like Alyssa was saying, I don't know. It was sort of funny during this challenge when Ken was protecting his crotch. Then he was like, I'm an old man, I shouldn't be spinning. That was sort of funny when he was like running around the pool to untie the key. Yeah. And I mean, so as we saw in the immunity challenge, purple has a huge head start in the reward challenge as well. And then Michelle leads orange to first place victory, and then Jay leads green to second place victory. And I think it was interesting. In one of the confessionals online, someone was mentioning how on Millennials they noticed, you know, Figgy and Michelle did most of the puzzles at the immunity challenges, and then they were like, I'm wondering how much of the puzzle was Michelle and how much of the puzzle was Figgy. So I thought it was an interesting kind of strategy that you watch the other tribes during challenges to see who does what, you know, who's good at what, and now people might be thinking, you know, maybe Michelle was the one carrying the tribe on puzzles, so she must be very good at puzzles, whereas Figgy could have been like the more dead weight on puzzles. Even though she may be good, she's not as good as Michelle.
Yeah, just because knowing your opponent's strengths and weaknesses, I feel like it's more helpful once you get to the individual game, just because you can figure out what they're good at and stuff. And like, I think in general, it's just good to know what your opponents are good at so that you can anticipate like how well or poorly they'll do in certain situations.
Yeah, and going off strengths and weaknesses, after this, we see, or like during the reward challenge, we see Hannah have a panic attack.
Yeah, so as someone who has had a panic attack, I feel like I can't really judge Hannah in this scenario just because it's one of those things where it can start as something very, very small, like she could have been worried that her team was falling behind or something, and then it just spirals so fast, and then you get to the point where, like, it's very difficult to bring yourself back from that. So I guess I'm not a good person to talk about that just because I empathize too much with Hannah. So, like, while I see how it can be seen as a weakness, I personally don't see it as a weakness just because, like, everyone has a panic. Like, it's something like 85% of Americans will have a panic attack at least once in their life. And, like, of those people, 50% will have more than one. And, like, 5% will have chronic panic attacks or something along those lines. So it's like, if 85% of people have one in their life, it's that panic attacks are a normal thing to have every once in a while.
Yeah, I know. I'm in the same boat as you, Alyssa. I feel bad for Hannah. Like, I'm very sympathetic for her, and I think this was a good episode for Hannah. We'll see in the immunity challenge as well, but a lot of people seem to be like bashing Hannah because of this incident at the reward challenge. Right? I don't know. Like you were saying, it could definitely show a weakness towards her tribe members if her tribe members take it that way. And I feel like her having a panic attack is something that Brett could use to try to get people to want to vote Hannah out, maybe to save Brett and Sunday's asses at a tribal council, because I think Brett would be the first one voted off of this green tribe if they went to tribal. And we see Sunday. I think Sunday is like a mother kind of figure. We see her and Hannah bonding over what happened at the reward challenge. And I don't know. Kudos to Hannah for like going out there and like playing the game, even though she does have these insecurities. And that's why I truly, truly feel Hannah and David are going to form an alliance. They are so similar. And yeah, I think that is 100% going to happen, hopefully, and I think that'll be good for them.
Yeah, and I think that it was good that, like, they treated Hannah's panic attack with, like, the respect that it deserved. Like, they didn't just having a panic attack, she'll be okay. Like, Dr. Joe actually sat with her and, like, did stuff to help her instead of just saying, oh, it'll go away eventually.
Yeah, and it's also, I don't know, like, interesting, I guess, because now the other tribe people on other tribes will be like, Hannah didn't even participate in the immunity or in the reward challenge. You know, why does she need medical to look at her? She was just sitting on the side. So that could definitely paint like a weak target on Hannah's back on like the other Gen X tribe and the people that she works with on Millennials as well.
Yeah, so that might actually help her. I feel like if she can make it to the big merge, she might be dragged along as like a goat, as like, oh, look at poor weak little Hannah. But I feel like that would also make a compelling like argument at Final Tribal Council. Like, look at what I endured. Like, I made it past this panic attack and all the anxiety that I have, and I fought my own fears and stuff.
Yeah,
personal
and I feel
story arcs aren't always the best on Survivor, but I feel like hers is a compelling one.
Yeah, and I feel like Hannah definitely does have that sort of like innocent, maybe naive kind of vibe going on, because even we saw day 6, Mari was like, Hannah's just probably talking about butts and puppies. So she definitely does have that kind of vibe that I think a lot of people are like keen to. So moving on, we see that the showmance of the season is revealed to Jessica and Ken, which I thought this like little scene was very, very funny because Jessica and Ken's reactions to Figgy telling them were like so sarcastic. They're like, what, girl, you know, you must be joking. And I don't know, I think it makes Ken and Jessica more likable because they handled the situation in this way.
Yeah, I feel like part of it is like they both said, just it wasn't like they were super covert about it. And I feel like they both treated it very respectfully. Like, they weren't like, oh, it's just a showmance. Like, they were like, yeah, I respect that you're together and whatever. But what I also wonder is, like, how much of their free time did Figgy and Taylor spend sitting around? Like, relationships did they go through? Did they try, like, or something? I don't know. I feel like that should be a hashtag. Hashtag Jessler. So,
oh. Jessler, what's the lure part?
For Taylor.
And Jessica?
Yeah, isn't that her real name? Jessica.
Oh, Figgy Jessica, not Jessica.
No, Figgy Jessica.
Okay, yeah. I was like, wait, what the heck?
Figler or like Taggy. You guys need to leave your comments, your suggestions for Taylor and Figgy's ship name below, because I'm going to be thinking about this for the rest of the night. So, yeah, pigtails.
Yeah, I mean, going to the immunity challenge also, I 100% did not think Purple would be losing both the reward challenge and the immunity challenge in the same freaking episode. Maybe, okay, they lost one, but Alyssa and I, last time, we thought that this tribe was super stacked. You know, they have 5 people that are all strong. They can all hold their own. They can do well in immunity challenge, puzzles, and stuff like that. But no, they lost both things this time, so that was very, very crazy. I did not think that would happen. Immunity challenge. There was a super stressful, like, balance puzzle at the end, and I always think, like, this is very, very crazy and interesting because you definitely have to calm your nerves. I would be so stressed out on that. Those balls, the table would just flop up, and I'll be like, oh no, cannot be doing this.
Yeah, and I feel like something you said about, like, the Purple Tribe losing both, we're going to talk about this later, but part of it wasn't just them. There was some interference happening.
Yeah, and so David, like I said, did not do too bad at this challenge. He actually held his own somewhat, and so, like, good for David. He's working his way on up. And going into that holding the ball puzzle kind of thing, Purple is in the lead once again, just like they were in the reward challenge. They had a huge lead. Jessica and Figgy were on the maze. And then we see Michaela barking orders at Hannah, which, I don't know, personally, it was sort of like a offsetting kind of scene. Like, yes, I can see both sides. Michaela is in the winning mindset. She wants her tribe to win, and she knows, like, the only way she can win if she, like, bosses Hannah around to get what they need to do, what they need done to get done to win the challenge. But Hannah, I feel like, I don't know, like, she just is, like, taking all of these, like, very, very harsh comments, and Hannah even says, like, you know, I know Michaela really likes me and we're friends and all that, but this is just how Michaela gets.
I feel like part of it is, like, taken in light of the fact that Hannah just had a panic attack, like, a couple days previous. I feel like stressing her out is the wrong way to approach this, but she understands that it's just Michaela being competitive. It's okay, but I feel like yelling at someone to make them do better is never the most effective way to do something. Like, calm and collected, here's what you're going to do next, I feel like works a lot better than do this, because, like, you are going to get stressed and frustrated. And, like, you hear Michaela at one point tell Hannah, don't get frustrated. And it's like, it's hard not to get frustrated when you make me feel like all of the moves that I'm making are the wrong moves.
Yeah, and I feel like in this kind of partner dynamic, you see it in The Amazing Race where, like, one person is always, like, yelling at the other person, but then you see that the other person yells back. And I feel like Hannah did not yell back at Michaela, but I don't know. It's like a weird kind of dynamic. If I were Hannah, like, after being in this kind of situation, like, yes, I would be friendly with Michaela and pretend to be all buddy-buddy, but, like, low-key, I would not want to work with her.
Yeah, but I feel like part of what Survivor is taking stuff that happens and being willing to, like, move past it, especially if it's going to benefit you. And right now, I think that being with Michaela does benefit Hannah because Michaela is really only into Millennials, I feel like, since we talked about how she's on the outskirts of them and stuff. But then, so Hannah and Michaela finish the puzzle first.
Yeah.
And Michaela immediately goes to help another team.
Yeah, so we see Michaela outwardly helping Michelle and Zeke because she wants to help the Orange Tribe because she wants to keep the Millennials strong because that tribe is a 2-2. One person would have to flip 3-1 or she doesn't know the idol, but things like that, it would be crazy, crazy. So she knows, you know, Purple has a 3-2 Millennials advantage, so, you know, she says if they can't figure out how to work together, they deserve to go home. So Michaela basically throws this challenge. Yeah, Michaela basically throws this challenge, like we were saying last episode, that someone maybe might throw the challenge to help Michelle and Zeke out. Like, yo, so profit. And I really, like, I thought this scene related a lot to when Sierra's mom, at that puzzle at, like, Redemption Island, she was helping Tina to try to get Vetus to go because Vetus would be harder to beat in the end. And I don't know, I think it'll be interesting to see Michaela's reaction now that Figgy's gone and someone on the Purple Tribe flipped on the Millennials, because she did seem somewhat millennial strong.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because, like, one of the arguments that Figgy and Taylor made against Adam flipping was that, like, oh, the Millennials are going to go after him to flip, and I feel like Michaela's kind of the perfect, like, indication of that, like, so.
Not true, but then it's like also like an interesting thing because Michaela might still have her hatred against Figgy, so maybe she's like low-key happy Figgy's gone. But Adam is rocking it out there. And also, I think this was a good episode for Hannah because I feel like Hannah had a lot of personal growth this episode. And, you know, I don't know. I feel like now that after she can deal with this kind of stress and an immunity challenge, having someone yell at you constantly, now Hannah can gain more confidence and she's able to go out there and maybe make some moves. And I feel like she's sort of getting the same kind of thing as like David, where she comes in like very insecure and stuff like that. And we'll see like at the end, Hannah might be like very, very confident.
Yeah, and I feel like, again, I talked about how, like, a lot of juries don't like to see a personal growth story, but, like, a good thing, and also if confidence ends up helping her win, like, individual immunities or something like that, it could be good for her in the long run.
Yeah, so speaking of Figgy, we have Tribal Council, so Purple Tribe loses, and this puts Adam Klein in a very tough position because either way he goes, with the Millennials or with the Gen X, someone is going to be angry.
I think that that's kind of the worst part about being a swing vote, because while you have all the power, you also have all the power to make people angry at you. So it's kind of like you have to judge whether or not that's like, I feel like when you're voting, you have to judge not only who you think will help better your game, but also who's going to hold the worst grudge. Just because you don't want to be with someone, even if like the other group might end up advancing you further. So.
No, yeah. Even so, we can go some backstory here. We see Taylor saying, you know, Adam, it like might like. He basically says Adam isn't that smart. And I'm like, WTF, dude. Like, you know where Adam is a smart dude. And that sort of peeved me off. And I was like, damn. So you're like belittling Adam's intelligence. First off, you'd like keep sitting him out in immunity challenges where he could probably be pretty good at puzzles and stuff like that. So they basically are putting him down, and then Figgy and Taylor both second guess Adam. They're like, you know, maybe he might flip, but then, you know, they stay complacent in their position. We don't see them trying to make any kind of other moves, which I feel like maybe we just didn't see it on camera, but in a 2-2 split, unless you feel super, super unsure about the middle person, you won't really vote the middle person out.
The thing is, I feel like Figgy and Taylor might not have seen it as a 2-2 split. Like, they might have seen it as a very clear-cut 3 versus 2 thing, especially after what Michaela said about how there's 3 of you, and if you can't figure out how to work together, they might have taken that as, like, all the justification that Adam needed in order to, like, vote with them. So while it seemed pretty obvious to us that he was flipping, I don't think that it would have been as obvious to them.
Yeah, true, because they definitely did seem very millennial strong. Taylor and Figgy did believe that they were going millennial strong, you know, easy vote, let's vote Ken or Jessica out. And I mean, low-key, Figgy could have saved her game. She could have flopped on Taylor and cut him. You don't need boys in your life. You just vote them out. But that, alas, that did not happen. And I think kudos to Ken and Jessica this episode. Like, you see Jessica talk with Adam, and she does not want Ken to go home because they're very close with the whole idol thing, with the whole legacy advantage thing. And then Jessica goes up to Ken, and she's basically like, yo, dude, you gotta convince Adam. Like, Jessica knows what needs to get done in order to save Ken this time. And then Ken did have some good words for Adam. And I feel like Adam is in a very tough position. He can either work with the people who, you know, he just met recently, who's on the Gen X tribe, who could backstab him later, or stay with the frickin' power couple who I feel like Adam would never be able to work with, because a love duo is stronger, I personally feel, than like a paired duo, because a paired duo can always flip when they see the time is right, but a loved one probably would never flip on the other person.
Yeah, and I feel like Adam, he had this confessional where he was like, everyone at home is screaming at me to vote at the power couple. And I was like, yes, Adam, we are screaming at you because it's the only thing that makes sense. And I think I would have lost a lot of respect for him as like a Survivor superfan if he had not voted out Figgy. I would have been like...
Yeah, and I think Adam was definitely thinking long-term with this vote. I think voting out Figgy definitely helps him in the long run, because even though Figgy is like, oh, you know, Adam and I are cool now, even though he wrote my name down the first tribal council, like, surprise, girl, he wrote your name down at the second tribal council. You guys
feel
went
like that
to.
was a really passive-aggressive move. Like, haha, he totally wrote my name down. Like, I feel like that was super passive-aggressive.
No, yeah, so I feel like taking out Figgy definitely sort of gets rid of that kind of grudge or like uncomfortability-ness between Adam and Figgy because of that first tribal when him and Zeke voted Figgy and no one else did. And long term, even though Taylor might be like crazy angry now at Adam for taking out his boo, I feel like it definitely 100% is not going to be like a Natalie from San Juan del Sur thing where she avenges Jeremy by winning the whole season. I think Taylor will make the merge probably, but I feel like he'll go home soon. But
I'm not even sure if he'll make the merge, because I feel like if their tribe loses again, then one to go, because it wouldn't make sense for like any of them to flip to vote out anyone else, because Adam made such a risky move by flipping to Gen X. So if they end up losing for some reason,
yeah,
could end up being...
Yeah, so Figtails broken up. And Figgy has said that her and Taylor aren't together anymore.
Aww. Because I feel like part of the thing with Survivor is like you form bonds really quickly to like have a sense of security. So it's like bonds that form quickly often dissolve quickly. So that's just my opinion, at least.
Yeah, so the power couple has been dissolved. So next time on Survivor, I am hoping for a tribe swap back into 2 tribes from 3 to 2, but the previews did not show any kind of tribe swap or something. So it could be a 3-tribe merge, which is very unprecedented. I feel like at 14, so we'll see. No, at 13. I don't even know. At 14, we should see a tribe of 7 and 7. So next episode, I'm hoping a split from 2 to 2. 2 tribes, and then at 12 it would be the merge, but maybe we'll keep 3 tribes till like 12 or something. So I don't know. I'm hoping for a tribe swap back into 2.
Yeah, I'm hoping that tribe swap back into 2, just because all the reasons we've talked about in previous episodes about creating the most ties and being the most like messy as possible. Just because messy games are more fun to watch. But then we also see in the preview Taylor's whole vengeance thing, so.
SMH. So I was doing some more math for this. Say the merge came, I was just using all 14 players right now. And I think there's a lot of different connections that we could see just based off of the episodes we've seen so far. If there's another tribe swap, we could see more different kind of connections form. But I really feel like Ken, David, and Jessica are very, very tight. And then I think Michelle, Jay, Taylor, and Will stick together. So that's like a 3-4 thing. Jay has an idol, David has the idol. I feel like now everyone else is sort of in the middle. I think Michaela is probably right now at this point in time leaning more towards the millennials of Michelle's group. But I think Michaela's willing to flip or do whatever will get her further in the game so she can backstab them whenever she won't really care. And then it gets tricky about the rest of them because I feel like Zeke, Adam, Hannah, Chris, Sunday, and Brett, David, and Jessica. Because Zeke would probably vote with Gen X if Chris goes because he and Chris have that kind of bond. And then we see David telling Zeke he has the idol, so that could get some bonds. Adam is, yes, he's close with Michelle and Jay, but maybe after the whole Figgy thing, he might want to play with the older folkies. And he and Ken, OTP, he Ken David, so I'm hoping that's happening. Like I said before, Hannah is at the bottom of the millennials, I feel like. And I think it's smart for her to go with Gen X. And David likes her, and they have a lot in common. And Chris wanted to keep David originally on that tribe because of connections. So he might want to go back with David and then blindside David later when the numbers get down to it. And Chris and Zeke have a thing, so I think Chris and Zeke might go together wherever they go, which is probably towards Gen X because Zeke doesn't have that many alliances with the millennials like we saw this episode. Sunday and Brett are sort of like together, I guess. I think Sunday might have bonded with Hannah over the panic attack things. And then Sunday, Brett and Chris might want to stay together with Gen X. And they'll go where the numbers go. I think Brett might not make it to the merge, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure Brett will make it to the merge. And I think that, like, a lot of these alliances could change depending on who gets voted out. If someone gets, like, obviously when people get voted out, like, all the tribes' perceptions of who's in power change a lot. So you might want to, like, you might gravitate more towards one side or another if you feel like they're going to be more powerful and give you a better position in the game.
Yeah, exactly. So, man, this season is a crazy. So many things are happening. I feel like Alyssa and I have definitely gotten more in depth with our analyses. Yes. I enjoy making up new words. So yeah.
Anyways, so next week we're super excited to see how all of this pans out. And as you guys may have noticed, we're back to our normal Friday time. So we're going to stay on Friday time, and we'll be podcasting next week about all the drama that's going to be happening. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember to comment what you think Figgy and Taylor should be interested if you guys can come up with something better than Figtails.
I like Figtails.
I don't know. I feel like it would be better if they spelled it with a Y instead of the I.
It reminds me of Dragon Tales. LOL. Okay, yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you guys next week, and we totally love doing this, so we are super, super excited. So peace.